Hey guys, and welcome back to A&J Education YouTube channel. In today's video, we have a very, very special guest, my colleague Jamie.
Hi.
How are you doing, Jamie?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Great to have you with us. So Jamie graduated from Oxford University. We work together at A&J Education, and Jamie is here to tell us how to successfully get into Oxford in the next application cycle, so how to apply in 2022 to start your studies in 2023 for undergraduate. Jamie, let's dive into it. So what's, how are you even qualified to talk about this?
So actually, quite a lot has happened with me that has given me quite a lot of experience in terms of how admissions work. So number one, I was lucky enough to get in, and that process took quite a while, so I got quite used to how things work. And then secondly, I went to a summer school when I was in year 12 called Unique, and they had some admissions advisors there, and they were the people who actually picked who would be coming to Oxford. So I had quite a few chats with them. They gave us some talks. So between that and my own knowledge, I kind of think I have a good understanding of the processes, what makes a great candidate, what makes a candidate so-so, and how you can improve your, position.
All right. And you studied PPE?
Yeah, PPE.
And that's, what does that stand for?
So that's philosophy, politics, and economics. So it's got quite a lot involved in it. It's quite a varied subject, but I found it really fun and engaging. Yeah.
All right, cool. So tell us, run us through the mechanics. How do you actually apply?
Yeah, sure. So you apply through a system called Ucas, but because it's Oxford, they have a few extra quirks that most other universities don't have. So firstly, when you apply for Oxford, you have to give in your application on the 15th of October through Ucas. So Ucas
and that's 15th of October prior to the September that you want to start?
So if you wanted to study in 2023, you would be applying on the 15th of October in 2022. So you've got, from now, about 7-ish months or so. Yeah. So there's quite a few components to the UCAS application. So the first one is a personal statement, and that's kind of where you're trying to basically sell yourself, why you'd be good for the course, what skills you've learned, what you could bring to the university, both inside the classroom and outside the classroom. And then you also have a referee, or like a reference. So that's when you get someone in your school who you trust to kind of back you and give you like their own personal recommendation, things you've done, things you couldn't talk about in your personal statement. And then this is where we kind of get into the more quirky territory with Oxford. You have to do a few more things. So you have to pick a specific college. So the way Oxford works is they don't really have centralised teaching. So you have to specifically pick a college, and that's where you'll live. They'll be in charge of your welfare and things like that. And then on top of that, you also have to get ready for some things that will happen after the process. Like you have to, there's a test called the TSA, and you have to register and apply at a test centre to be able to do it. And
TSA, that's for PPE, economics and management specifically, and for other subjects throughout other tests.
Yes, for sure. So one important thing that I would recommend that students check on is make sure that the course you're applying for, you also apply to do the right admissions test, because if that goes wrong, you might walk up on the day and realise you're applying for an admissions test for a subject you don't want to do, which is never really a great scenario.
No, that's automatic bin. And of course, the deadline for those tests, for the registration for those tests, is typically 15th of October. If you're watching this from the UK, typically UK schools do this all for you. International schools, not so often, and often you have to do it yourself. However, even with UK schools, I would still demand politely to double check that you've been registered. They have a computerized system where they put your name and surname and you have some sort of code. I would kind of really double check with your teachers that they have registered you, because there are horror stories every year where, we get phone calls, our colleagues and I get phone calls saying, oh, shoot, my school didn't register me, it's 20th of October and I want to study at Oxford. I'm like, well, there is absolutely nothing we can do for you. That ship has sailed. You have to wait an extra 12 months. So just be careful with that one.
I definitely had to nag my teachers a lot. The admin at my school wasn't amazing. They actually messed up a GCSE exam for me in terms of my timing. So I quadruple checked that they'd fully registered me and I was ready to go on the day, which was great.
Yeah,
for sure.
awesome. So just Jimmy, just summing up what you've said. So as part of the Ucas application, you have the personal statement. So you need to do all the stuff, build up your CV beforehand. By the way, if you haven't already signed up for my newsletter that I send out every 3 weeks on CV building, check out the link below. It's got a lot of really unique stuff that you won't find elsewhere. Seminars, workshops, conferences, events that will look great on your resume. So you've got, kind of working on your CV. With that in mind, you write your personal statement. You have a reference from the school, and it's important to invest in that relationship, right? You don't just
100%.
You don't just get a good reference.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so one of the things that I don't think students think about a lot is the fact that your referee or the person who's going to write your reference for you, they're going to be writing the reference for a lot of people. And a lot of people, especially people who are going to be applying to Oxford or Cambridge, they're going to be the top of the pack in their school normally. So you want to make sure that your referee knows exactly what you're doing and can see you as an exceptional candidate months beforehand. If you turn around to your referee, a few weeks before the Ucas statement's due, and they kind of know you've done a few extracurricular things here and there, but they don't realise you're the star of the school, then unfortunately there's a high chance that the university will look at that part of your statement or part of your application and say to you, wait, hang on a second, there's other people saying that, this kid's been a bright, shining star since year 7, and it seems like your teacher's just mentioned that you do sports on the weekend, so you want to make sure that you're on the same level as them. So investing in that relationship, keeping them up to date, making sure that you've got a good working, rapport is really good.
Guys, honestly, I cannot overstate and, couldn't agree more with Jamie, and most people forget about this. Most people think, well, I'm just coasting, I'm doing well in my studies, that's what I'm focusing on, but you're forgetting the human nature of every individual. Your teachers, just like myself, well, definitely myself, maybe even Jamie, have imperfections and, biases, and, people have their problems, their husband, wife problems, their children problems, their money problems, health problems, their parents are dying, that's at that kind of age. So, you really, you're not exactly, plus they have an extra 100 kids at your school. So you're not exactly even number 17 on their agenda, not even 37. So really important for you to kind of, push on the reference.
For sure. Yeah, I completely agree.
Jimmy, let's dive back in. So you've got the personal statement, you've got the reference, predicted grades. You've done this extra test. What happens then? We all know about the interview. Does everyone get invited for an interview?
No. So it depends if you're applying for Oxford and Cambridge. But talking about Oxford, so the way it works is you do your entrance exam, and then what they'll do is they'll review everything you've done so far, basically. So they'll look at the TSA score you got, they'll look at your personal statement, they'll look at your predicted grades, they'll look at everything that they have so far. And then after that, they will take, normally, at least for PPE, it's normally the top third of students, so if you got in the top third in the TSA score, or in the TSA test, they will invite you to interview.
Okay.
And then from there, you go into the interview process, which is a whole other kettle of fish. So unfortunately, loads of people, or a huge chunk of people who apply, the TSA will be the last thing that they do. Obviously, no one wants to be that person. But yeah, the interview process happens after the admissions test. I think you roughly find out, in early December or late November, I believe. Yeah, roughly. Okay. If you got accepted to an interview.
Okay. And then you do the interviews, and we have lots of other videos on the interview specifically, so we're not going to talk about it here now. But Jamie, is it, lots of students ask me all the time, oh, my teacher at school or my, mum's colleague at work's cousin's son who got in, says that unless you have straight A stars at GCSE, forget it. It's a waste of time to apply. Is that true?
Well, actually, no. So it's, from my understanding, it's a bit more complicated, but they really do care about context more than even I thought when I initially applied. So there's quite a few people I know who either didn't take education really seriously, or maybe they even had a learning difficulty during their GCSE period that went undiscovered. And because of that, their GCSEs weren't as strong as they would like, or that's typical of an Oxford student. And they do look at your GCSEs, I can't deny that, but they also look at them in a contextual bubble. So, if you didn't get, straight A stars at GCSE, you got a few grades lower, that's more than fine. I didn't get straight A stars at GCSE, but they also recognised, hey, he didn't go to the, best school on the planet, a bunch of other disadvantages and things like that. And they looked at my A-level grades, which jumped up quite a bit, and then they said, oh, well, that can kind of compensate for it. So what I would say is that you don't need to be a straight A-star level, candidate at GCSE. People grow, people learn, people improve. Just as long as you're proving right now that you're an exceptional learner, I think they'd be quite willing to overlook, some GCSEs you might not have been too happy with.
Got it. And equally, people who think that, just because they have straight GCSEs, A stars or 9s at GCSEs or fantastic grades, equally get a lot of emails and calls saying, oh, my son got straight GCSE, straight A stars at GCSEs. He's, God's gift to earth, but he didn't get invited for an interview. And I'm like, well, bro or madam, it's not, it's not all about the grades.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely not all about the grades. I think some people think that an A, when we're talking about GCSEs or even A levels, that an A star immediately puts you in the Oxbridge bracket. I think one of the biggest things I learned on a personal level from interviews is that there are loads of people who are really good at studying the textbook and maximizing their marks, and more power to them. I think that's an excellent strategy to do well for yourself. But what happened was they went into the interview room, and then when they realized that most of what they're good at is not regurgitating, but only working with what they know, instead of learning to think a bit more freely, think outside the box and apply their knowledge in new ways, that's the sort of person Oxford's looking for. So, if you've got kind of like a spark in your eye and you and you're kind of a bit ambitious and you love learning about the subject, then I think that actually counts quite a lot towards the process rather than just being able to tick boxes in an exam.
That's right. Jamie, this has been really useful. Just final 3 tips to aspiring Oxford students who are applying this, this cycle. Top 3 tips.
Yeah, sure. So number 1, I would say definitely apply, or if you're going to apply, think about doing it early. And another thing is don't rule yourself out. So I guess that would be 2 separate tips. So 1, apply early, or if you think about applying early, get on it early.
Prepare early.
Yeah, prepare early. Perfect. And then number 2 is don't rule yourself out. I, on a personal level, ruled myself out. I was like, I'm not a smart enough candidate. I can't do this. I knew people who were getting straight A stars and, were the perfect people to get in. It took a lot of nagging and convincing from my friends, even after I went to the summer school. And, it managed to work out. So if you think you have a shot, I cannot emphasize this enough. Please go for it. You could find yourself in an amazing place. And then the third tip I would recommend is, kind of what we were talking about earlier on. Make sure you get on it with your referee as quickly as possible and start doing things that, reflect well. And when you do, tell your referee.
That's great. And guys, just one from me. The biggest fair advantage that you can give yourself is starting early. This is the greatest equalizer. If you start preparing at 14 and just read every book, look at all the interview questions, try loads of past papers, watch every YouTube video out there, attend every open day. They're now online, so there is no cost to attend them. You will give yourself a huge fair advantage that other people who are messing around and, leaving it too late will not have. So just go for it.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people who got in were the sorts of people who had known for quite a while that they wanted to go and were really prepared, and it showed, throughout the whole degree and even before then. So yeah.
No. Jamie, this has been great. Guys, just a reminder, do check out the newsletter and university admissions. But for now, Jamie, thank you so much for your time. Great to have you with us. Thanks.